So if you're joining us at 12:01, this is Barbara McAdam, and welcome to our monthly In Your Backyard series. Today we're going to talk about rain barrels. This is the presentation you are viewing, the opening slide, rainwater catch systems. This is the one that we do pretty much every month in various forms. Master gardeners got to see this. This will be about water conservation and preventing stormwater prevention using rainwater catch systems, rain barrels, aka rain barrels. And my name is Barbara McAdam, Urban Hort Program Specialist with the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Science, otherwise known as IFAS Extension Service, Miami-Dade County. And we are part of Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces. And if I click to the next slide, oops, all of a sudden it won't go. There we go. We are funded almost entirely through Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department. Thank you, because we do teach water conservation and how to prevent stormwater runoff outside. And we also are funded in part by Department of Environmental Resources Management, formerly known as DERM, and Miami-Dade Solid Waste Management. They sponsor the composting workshops. So these are the folks who sponsor our Florida-friendly landscaping urban hort program in Miami-Dade County. We also work and are part of the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Eco Division, which includes the Parks with Natural Area Spaces. And we work very, very closely with EELS, Environmentally Endangered Lands Program, and the Miami-Dade County Office of Resilience. So I'm going to just hold up just for a moment and see
Sorry.
how many folks we have.
We're
I
getting
know
a couple
everyone is
joining in
coming
now.
in quickly, but we had almost 50 of you registered today, so that is a good size class. I want to remind you that if this is going to be longer than usual, this is scheduled to be 90 minutes, and that used to be the amount of time we would devote to this presentation since about 2006 when I started doing the program. And we've tried to cut it, but we miss some components of this. And today we would like to just preserve for you to come back and look at a little more complete look at our water issues and why we have the issues that we have, and the reasons why we have these issues and how we can resolve them. And of course, rain barrels are going to be one of those ways. So in our monthly In Your Backyard series, it is recorded, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. Dalton will be putting a lot of the information. I'm going to keep his fingers working hard. He's going to be putting links into the chat, which I hope is enabled. So, yep, it's enabled, so you guys can all see. And if you want to know more about different workshops that take place at various locations throughout Miami-Dade County every month, then you want to get on our e-blast. Dalton prepares that and sends it out. You can just, they'll send you the link to sign up for that. And you can always see events, the rain barrels, and anything having to do with water, our water conservation are on our Eventbrite page. And everything that our office does, all of the other programs, is on our website calendar for, the UF IFAS Extension Miami-Dade County. So those links will go in. And if you have any questions, please remember, I don't know why I'm freezing. It's not the temperature, that's a little freezing. But remember, Barbara McAdam, my email is pretty easy, I think. bmcadam@ufl.edu. No S on McAdam. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're at 12:06, and I might try not to talk too fast, but I want to be able to go through everything. So give yourself a pat on the back. You are considered early adopters because research has shown that folks that use rain barrels, that go to workshops and the education that it provides, are early adopters, and it can be an indicator of other conservation methods that they will also adapt. And capturing rainwater, of course, can conserve our groundwater resources from being pumped for irrigation purposes. And it also provides a slightly acidic water for your plant needs. So we're going to look at a couple of water issues today. Conservation, how we use so much water, and maybe why we use so much water. On the other side of that, when we use it inside, it becomes wastewater that Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department has to clean and then put somewhere. So where do we put it? When you save water, you save places that we have to find to put that wastewater. And stormwater runoff, adapting low impact development practices and creating things like rain gardens and putting rain barrels that can help with stormwater runoff. And Biscayne Aquifer, what are those threats? And Biscayne Bay, what are those threats and solutions to those? And then we're going to get to my favorite, rain barrels. I know you guys are waiting for that too. So let's just go. Hey, how do we use so much water? And just why do we use so much water? And if we were to look at these 1-gallon jugs of water, and I'm going to, for the rest of the live workshops this year, bring a 1-gallon jug of water and just have people pass it around. If we had to go to the well to collect the water that we use, I'm pretty sure we would use far less. It's about 8 pounds per gallon. But current numbers, and this hasn't been researched recently, the best we can determine is that we're around 137 gallons of water per day. You can find out your exact water use number by reading your water bill if you get one, or you can use homewaterworks.org. Your water footprint would be all the water that goes into everything you consume, and that would be huge. So we're not going to address that today. We're going to address what you can be in control of. You have the power. So how does our daily water use average compare? Well, according to World Water and looking at websites from different countries, we are the biggest water users because we have all of the things that you can use water for. And we've lost the connection, perhaps, that, we before we settled anywhere, we had to have water resources. And without water, no one survives. As a matter of fact, this red dotted line is less than 13 gallons per day, and that is what the United Nations defines as water poverty. If we look at different states, we're lower than some, higher than others. Seattle, of course, it rains all the time. Houston, very, very progressive and active water conservation. But you can see the difference in Beverly Hills, people who can pay for a lot of water, and Los Angeles, people who are watching their water bills and conserving it. And of course, all of the water for that area comes from diverted water from the Colorado River. So next slide. Let's look at how we use that water. And 50% of it, yes, it's used inside the house. And keep in mind that this inside 50% would be needed to be treated. It would be flow away and it would have to be treated, and then we would have to find some place to store it. And outside, the single largest use of water is irrigation. So that's where we're going to come into play with different programs from Florida Friendly Landscaping, and you can contact us for all kinds of help and information on that. Lots of ways to save water, both inside and out. Here's the inside pie. The largest one, of course, is the toilet. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a raspy throat today and a stuffy nose, just a little weather change. But we do want you, I would say, flush the toilet every time you use it. I know there were some little ditties about that in New York in the 60s, but for sanitary purposes, please do flush the toilet. Leaks, that's insidious. There's no excuse for that. Find them and fix them. 5 minutes in the shower, of course. So let's look at where we put all of that water that flushes or goes down the sink or out of the washing machine. Ocean dumping management, we have been on notice that we can no longer do that. So it's deep well injection. And you'd be surprised at the number of places across the world that will still be dumping wastewater into a stream, a lake, or other body of water. So this has long been something that everyone is aiming to come into compliance with. So how to save it inside? Turn the water off when you brush your teeth. That is the kids, we talk about that all the time. Some schools that we go to, if we count up the number of students and teachers, we are saving the 8 gallons per day when you brush in the morning and you brush at night, and times the number of the population of that school, we get into millions of gallons quite often. So that is an easy, simple one. Fix the leak. There's a fix a leak week. 5 minutes in the shower. World Water Day. Look at that. That happens every year, March 22nd. And Miami-Dade Water and Sewer has plenty of rebates, toilets, shower head, faucets. Those are just the indoor rebates. And we'll talk about the outdoor rebates. That toilet, again, no, it's an urban legend. You can go ahead, everybody can flush at the same time watching the Super Bowl, but we want to make sure that there are things we are not flushing. Sorry, there's that cough again. So it's basically what to flush, and that would be the 4 things that start with P, the letter P. And one would be P, paper, poo. And then maybe if something doesn't agree with your stomach, you might do the 4th P. All of these other things that get flushed down the toilet can result in this, and this is an old estimate. I'm sure it's higher now, but that's a $500,000 per year to repair blocked pipes. So here's the outside. The number one way to save water outside is to create a Florida-friendly landscape. This program was funded by University of Florida and Florida DEP. It's 30 years old now. It has 9 principles, and they are all basic things that we used to know when we gardened more or when we came off the farm, our relatives came off the farm. So these are tried and true practices. And number one, and this is my favorite, because I love plants. Who doesn't want to learn more about plants? It is the cornerstone, but please, we'll send you this publication and you can look. This is like a perfect setup. It has a setback and it has buffer zone to protect this water body. This might be Biscayne Bay or it could be a local canal. So shading materials, let's see, the rain barrel's on here somewhere. There's a rain garden. So, and I'm sure it's full of wildlife, butterflies, hummingbirds at this time of year. Here's a little more. These little squiggly lines are showing the direction of water flow off of this property. So we would want to consider all of these issues. Where is the sun at different times of year? And what are plants that should be grouped together? Don't plant ferns and cactus together. They have different water needs. Get some of those plant skills back. Here we go with an excellent way to save water. Excellent use of resources, the landscape irrigation and rebate program. This, if you use irrigation, and some of our large properties like public buildings, golf courses, they would use a lot of water. We want to make sure that you're using it efficiently. So the crew that comes out of our office, that would be Dalton and Jesus right now. There's a job opening there. If anyone out there wants to come and learn and join the team, they go out and do assessments of properties, and they will make a list of what can be fixed to make that irrigation system work more efficiently. And you can be part of this program for a number of years, and there are lots of things: installation of rain sensor, redesign plants, put in low maintenance landscape plants, all sorts of things. So you want to check into that. We'll put that link into the chat as well. And of course, reach out to me and I will share it with the team here. We know as much as 50% of the water that's used outdoors is used inefficiently, or it's just going down the drain. We have plenty of photos to prove that. And I don't think, the last time I checked, they have never gone to do an assessment of a property that did not have a leak to this day. This is a very long running program. It's always leaky. So let's talk briefly about issues with climate and hydrology. So I would call this the Miami rain machine. There's a great little PDF here on how rain forms, but basically we need to get hot enough where water will evaporate off of our water resources. Of course, the main one would be the ocean to the east. We have transpiration from water coming through the leaves of vegetation. That would be coming from the Everglades. Yes, I guess we would have our perspiration that might add a little tiny bit in there, but all of that rises up and condenses into clouds. And depending on which way the wind is blowing, our afternoon or morning thunderstorms and rain will start to happen. And temperatures just need to pretty much get into that higher range. So other things that influence rainmakers, of course, we're in one of these right now, winter cold season fronts. We didn't get anything this time. Ours swept more this way instead of down. So the middle parts of the state, they're getting plenty of snow, but we got nothing. I didn't see even a spattering of raindrops. Tropical, that's the biggest rainmaker, and that normally happens through the summer or wet season months. Although late season or early season tropical events can bring lots with it. Oh, and if you combine precipitation and transpiration, you get evapotranspiration. There's your 25-cent word of the day. So let's look at some averages. We talked about our average water use around 137. So our average rainfall would be 61, 62. This comes off of a weather site. This is temperature. You can see how we peak, and it matches our rainfall peak. And we're in January. So of the questions here, they ask, what is the wettest month? It is usually June, although we're going to look very briefly and quickly at how this can really fluctuate. So what would be our driest months? If I were doing this live and you could raise your hands, yes, it is January, the month that we are in. However, lower temperatures. And there's one other factor that really drives one of the issues that we're going to look at. I'll save that for later. All right, so let's start with some exceptions. So this is dry season. This is December. If we went back real quickly, you could see that December is usually a pretty dry month, right? And asking a question, does anyone know how dry this past December was? We'll look at that. So this is December of 2023. This is rainfall preceding a cold front. We're at 8 inches. That's like the rainfall in between July and August. Okay, rainy season type weather. This is also the U.S. drought monitor. This is showing, moderate drought, and we're dry during that period, but yet we hit rainfall amount with the cold front. So this is going from 1906 to 2023. And here's the mean average 61. inches of rain, and here are the exceptions. And you can see that we've had some quite unusual high rainfall events in the last couple of years. If I were to venture an educated guess, I would say we should expect higher rainfall on average. However, we can still expect some extremely dry weather during the dry season. And we'll see other issues as well. So let's go to September 15th, 2022. This was one of our dry years. You can see we're down here kind of at the bottom, and we can see some other things that happened. This was during COVID. People were home. Maybe they were watering their lawn more often because they could see it and it was getting a little dry and crispy. And we were in the month of April, which is sometimes a really tough month because temperatures have risen, but rainfall isn't consistent yet. We are in severe to abnormally dry throughout the county. We know that this went up because we have the numbers for that month. We also had that year, and this is for August, later in the summer, Saharan dust. This is not new. It's not something that scientists just invented to torture you with, or prove there's climate change. No, this has been happening for forever. And they're better able to track this from satellite views. Those red plumes are dust, and this just shut down the rain for about 2.5 weeks in one of our hottest months. So anything can happen. And there's your climate. So what about the hydrology? We were underwater, of course. And we're built on top of coral, which is very porous. And hopefully we have a little bit of some good topsoil, some lands, some plant materials that plants can begin to grow and thrive in. But what it means when we're on top of this rock is that this drains really quickly. And we can see we've done a lot of things here. Also, this is a canal through the Everglades to try to kind of drain off those tremendous amounts of rainfall that will come in our summer or maybe not in the winter, to try to clear that off so that our cities and our areas, even our farms, would not become flooded. So all of this can also exacerbate not only the water flow that needs to go all the way to the south, to the Everglades, and feed into Florida Bay estuaries, but it can exacerbate and pull water from surrounding aquifer areas, because as this water lowers, it's going to want to refill by osmosis those surrounding areas. So the water will try to level itself. So we're unique. And also South Florida Water Management, they get the task of handling one of the most complex water systems on our planet. So it ties in with our population. How many millions of people live here? You guys, if you don't know it, please look it up. But we all share the water from this South Florida water management system. This is a hydraulic system that begins north of Lake Okeechobee, the Kissimmee River. So, excuse me, your hydrology, some of your water issues are always going to depend on your locations. As a matter of fact, not some, always. Because what may be true for here may not work in another area. It's dependent on our weather, our climate, and our hydrological system. So what we can control is how we utilize that water. So again, things that are out of our control and things that are within our control. So these are some of the issues. This is a saltwater intrusion line, and I have not received any updates on this for quite some time. I'm sure it's gone further inland. And this is from 2009, the areas with the red squares where we had well fields that were at sea level. Once we get to sea level, that underlying bubble of salt water next to the ocean or the bay, we risk pulling up saline water and having saltwater intrusion into the well fields. What do we do when that happens? There's no way we can flush this out at this point. We haven't tried. Um, Pretty gargantuan task. It needs to be further treated before it can be delivered. It needs to be reverse osmosis or desal. So usually this is taken offline. So this means that all of these red are in danger. If you live in these areas that are east of this line, you could be pulling up saline or salt water if you're using a well. And we have seen issues of that in several areas in Miami-Dade County. In the landscape irrigation program, they have actually we get calls of people saying, my grass is dying, what is going on? We look at the issues and then we can ask them to test the water. So the stresses on Biscayne Aquifer and Biscayne Bay, they're fairly similar. We have a huge population, increased demand, decreased habitats that can filter and clean water. I mean, if you think about rain that falls in urban areas, what is the path that it takes? It's usually over hard surfaces, driveways. There's very little areas where it can maybe land on green earth and have a chance to seep into the aquifer to both recharge it and also as it travels over those hard surfaces, it's going to pick up all sorts of pollutants. We've literally had a collection of photos of oil. If you've ever been to the gas station and you see gasoline on the ground and you see that rainbow, that is a pollution rainbow. So we have with climate, we have sea level rise, which is going to exacerbate saltwater intrusion. We have very high water tables sometimes at areas that have subsided and are getting a lot of rain. And they can be bubbling up things that are from septic systems that are still in use. We can have very low and fluctuations in rainfall can happen anytime. And of course, sort of along with that climate change, those out of the park swings are getting, kind of there's more of them. If you like roller coasters, I'd say we're kind of on an extreme roller coaster with highs and lows. So let's be prepared. Let's do what we can. Stormwater runoff is increasing. The more we develop, and there are ways that we can develop that are low, that are LID, that can help prevent some of those issues. So solutions would be to educate homeowners in Florida-friendly landscaping. Get your landscape surrounding wherever you live, you work, you play. Let that work to help prevent any water. I would say zero runoff from your home property would be what you want to strive for. So we have handbooks, we have tips, we have lots of plant information. All of us love talking about plants here, so we'll help you out. And other solutions that are tied into our watershed are Everglades restoration, restoring that flow so that it doesn't sweep so much. Of course, it would greatly benefit the areas that flow east and west of Lake Okeechobee, and it would also help provide what is needed throughout the Everglades, but it'll keep too much water from coming into our areas. We need that flow of water there. I would say we have too little rather than too much. We need this eastward sweep of water from the Everglades flow to keep saltwater intrusion at bay. It's really kind of cool. Mother Nature created this system evolved to be perfect over millions of years. So, and stresses on the Biscayne Aquifer and Biscayne Bay. Here's our Sea Grant agent and acting CED. Anna Zangariz, author of quite a few blogs talking about the dead fish in Biscayne Bay. And this is a photo. This is right next to where I used to live. Once in Miami before I moved way south. That's one of the little finger canals in one of the communities, just full of fish. So, and we have, of course, we have issues with red tide and blue-green algae. That's been happening throughout the world. This is not the issue we had here in Miami-Dade with Biscayne Bay. There's a lot of particular things. Right now, they are working on what is called a BMAP. It's a series of, it lists all of the issues and it lists how we should be taking care of it. For us not to have a BMAP, which is best management practices to follow for Biscayne Bay, that really needs to come as soon as possible. But we do know that one of the issues is in the areas that were developed early on in Miami. We still have septic tanks in use. We have subsidence of land, and that is one of the areas where with a lot of rainfall, we'll have a high water table, we'll have saltwater intrusion from the bay, and we'll have a septic system, and it's going to bubble up, and that is going to run into Biscayne Bay. We also have to look at not only those bayfront areas, but all of our canals linked to Biscayne Bay. Enough said about that, right? Finally, yes. All right, let's just talk about some real solutions here. This is one of the simplest. It's a do-it-yourself project. And there is our truck and our old trailer. We used to call her Rusty, and she would hold 24 rain barrels. And that's at the beautiful Amelia Earhart Park at one of our workshops. We love that park. I'm sure it's full of birds there right now. So let's just take a moment. I know I just pounded you with a lot of problems. Let's just take a breath. Let's look at some fun. Boy, oh boy, we used to have lots of people come to workshops here. The venue did not provide any chairs, so we sat on the rain barrels. This is Chris Miller, who started the program here in Miami-Dade County before I took it over in 2006. This is Girl Power. That's me holding the reciprocal saw. Yes, ladies, we can do it. Rosie the Riveters. This is a great workshop. You can just see, I think we had about 12 rain barrels go out that day, lots of questions. And we called it it's a rain barrel workshop because we all want to get together and work together. So this is Fairchild, their spoof on flow. This is an early on, let me see if I can increase the catch area. Hide It, this is Passion Flower Vine. Miami Beach Senior High. Belafonte Tocolsi Center. This is the rain barrel with the Valencia Pride mangoes just painted on here that sits at the Fruit and Spice Park. This is early on, one of our first people who started using rain barrels and hired someone to connect the barrels. It was a lot of PVC, and now, years later, there are lots of things that you can buy online. Some of the rain barrels, boy, I love this ladybug. I don't have a red barrel any longer for rain, but I have a red barrel composter. Gives me some ideas. These are some of the rebate for rain barrels qualifies for anything over 50 gallons. It does not qualify for the plastic ones that you can buy because we're not sure how durable they are. So while we do the reconditioned food grade drums, these are other rain catch devices. And as you know, including going way back to the old bourbon barrel in Kentucky. Some of the artwork, some of the simple ways. This is one of those little hand pumps that you use to squeeze the gasoline from one can to another. That's my yard. There's some white rain lilies. Still have them growing. My favorite one looks like a clay urn. And this one we experimented with a school. We They knew that people were going to climb, or they were just going to walk into the school grounds, and they were concerned that someone might try to dunk someone in a rain barrel. So we looked at how we could protect it from that issue happening. So other ways, oops, sorry. And we're going to be doing a rain garden workshop at in Miami Shores in March, and we're going to be doing a huge rain barrel workshop in North Miami, along with all of these beautiful aquatic edge plants. So if you want some of these, if you live on a canal or any freshwater body of water and you want some of these aquatic edge plants, please come to that workshop. We've been growing them especially for you. So these are ways that we can prevent stormwater and polluted stormwater. And we want to just prevent stormwater, period. We just want to make doubly sure that it's not polluted. We have this publication available to share, and we're happy to send this to you. See that little smiling angel by the rain barrel? That's not going to prevent a lot, but taken as a whole with everything else you do, it will add up to a huge difference. So let's look 56 to 63. And the prime months for catching are, well, we won't go there yet. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. But it falls, it's 70% of our rainfall. So the majority of our rainfall comes in just May, June, July, August, and September. It can start, usually they try to move the date up for the start of rainy season, but Mother Nature did not pay attention, and it still seems to fall on into the latter part of May, and it can extend into October. So officially the dates are May 15th through October 15th, but the peak months are, we will take a look at that graph, but you can see here what this is showing you. Remember that rocky coral soil? We only want to water whatever our source, whether it's irrigation or your rain barrel, to get the water to the root zone of plants. And if you keep watering and watering and watering, it's actually just going to run past that root zone and take nutrients with it. This is a graph here. The dark blue is additional rainfall. The light blue is average rainfall. Green is what plants need. This is based on growing alfalfa, which is a monocrop. And a monocot, it is similar to your lawn in its water needs. So they based what additional water they would need. And of course, you can see in the dry months, you're not really needing to add a lot more water because the plants aren't growing as much either. So what's the driving condition that's happening out there in the environment that the plants wouldn't be growing that much? It's not cold weather, it's daylight hours. And it's as much as 3 hours difference between the longest day of the year and the shortest day of the year. You can fertilize and water plants as much as you dream of, but if it doesn't have sunlight, it won't be able to utilize those materials and result in growth. So we can see that we definitely don't need to water June, July, August, September. However, we have to watch out for those really dry spells and only a little bit of water if everything ran along that level line we call average. So we know it doesn't. So, but here's a little chart based on that graph and the growth of grass. We can see your lawn absolutely doesn't grow that much during the dry season. Now, it may look browner because it's not growing as actively and it's not pushing those blades that are naturally dying. It's a natural process. The blade emerges, it gets old, it dies off, new blades already started. But because it's not growing as actively, you'll see more brown blades in your grass. So it won't be that really bright blue-green shade of St. Augustine grass in like August. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can expect your lawn to look that green all year long. So rain barrels, we want to set up and it's our optimum time of capture. A rain barrel, a catch system, that's when you want to catch it. Now, we're not preventing it from recharging the aquifer. We're just, while it's peak rain and we're actually getting a lot of times too much rain, we are simply saving it to use when we need it in the dry season. So let's look at that, what we can use them for, because there is something a little, I find, this bothers me because I used to really not be aware of this. And I would always talk about, oh, rain barrels and your winter vegetable garden. But statistically, we know from studies that that water that you capture off of your rooftop can be contaminated. And I would say I can give you some perfect examples. It's not just a bird flying over, because a bird could fly over your vegetable garden as well. But living in Redland, I have raccoons playing on my roof. It's fecal matter that may inadvertently happen if there's a tree overhanging your roof. You've got raccoons and birds roosting there. So that water could be contaminated with E. coli. And we all know from hearing about outbreaks of E. coli that we want to prevent that by all means. So it's not perfect for the rain garden to capture the rainwater off of your roof. We are, however, going to look at some clean catch ideas to try to fill that rain barrel up during the dry season. You've captured all this water during the rainy season. We can put a small opening in it, and that rain barrel is going to be overflowing during the rainy season. And by the way, Dalton did an outstanding presentation. Oh, I should have changed this. I was meant to change this to January. He just did an outstanding presentation on what to plant in the month of December. So we grow things the opposite time of year than the rest of the country because it's simply too hot and too wet and too full of insects and diseases in our summertime. So we tend to grow in the cooler season. Unfortunately, that is our dry season as well. If you were down here anywhere near Redland, with the cold and the dry, you would hear the big irrigation guns running these last couple of nights with this cold front
And
and
if anyone's
the
interested,
extreme
I
dry.
posted the link to that video in the
Yep,
chat.
good.
You can
So,
view that at your own time. Thank you.
right. So everybody, please remember to go back to the chat. So clean catch for edible foods. I think I've pounded on this enough. And also what we want to make sure we are preventing is any access to the water by mosquitoes, no matter how small or how much water. We have different types of mosquitoes here. We have 5 species of Aedes mosquitoes now. Um, one has moved up because we've gotten warmer. These are primarily the ones that vector the major diseases, but let's not forget yellow fever, which is one of our not an Aedes
Thank you guys
species.
all for attending. My name is Dalton Goolsby.
Hey,
I'm
Dalton,
advisor of the Earth.
Dalton, I can hear you. Are you
And that
gonna?
was someone else watching the video. So yeah, please stay muted, guys. Thank you.
Sorry, we'll fix that next time. Okay. Hey, I might be retiring. If you guys want my job, send in your application. So, um, let's see. I got stuck for a second. Oops. All right. This is a lot of information that sort of begs to differ from what the University of Florida has talked about. The roof water quality from well, actually, TAMU, Texas A&M does not disagree. It just talks about different ways to um, clean the contaminated, what possible contamination. There's actually lots of systems. You can make rainwater drinkable, but it's a very huge process, and you don't want to get anything wrong. So TAMU, Texas A&M, I would say has the most extensive rain barrel rainwater collection, rainwater system education. And these are great publications. It'll actually gives you a chart where you put in the dimensions of your roof top areas, if you're using that, and your annual rainfall, and it will size out the uh, your system for you. How large should your system be to capture the majority of it? But here's a very good tip with a photo is keep that rain gutter clean at all times, because even if you do not have a rain barrel connected to it, you want to keep that flow off the roof, go and away from the house moving. And here's the, I guess the pigeons. I feed my pigeons so they don't land on my roof. So expanding the catch area. So this is if you are going to keep these clean on a regular basis. So they have not been tested, and this are definitely do it yourself. We have no means or ways to assist you in doing this. This is rain barrels are something that people have been using since the beginning of time. We've been capturing water. And we would love to see what other folks come up with their ideas. First of all, this was a great product, a rain saucer. However, the company it went down during COVID. It was sold, and he was going to take on an advisory role. Every time I get ready to do a presentation, I check the website again, and the website does not work at all. So this was a better mousetrap, but it's gone. And I assume because we did not get a chance to purchase one to see how secure these straps are going to be. And here they're showing it in a photo used with a garbage can. That's a no-no, and we'll cover that a little further. And of course, none of them are elevated for gravity feed. So if you've ever gone hiking, I'm sure you've seen these little contraptions that you can pack down, and you can collect fog. It'll condense and slide down and create a clean water source. So that is something along the ideas of what we're thinking about. Imagine this is a round barrel here, and we're just expanding that catch area, which we can fold or store, clean, and maintain so that it does not become contaminated. So, oh, remember this company, the satellite company, I tried to gray out their name. If you move, you just leave the old ones behind. That can expand. And also I'm playing around with one at home where I'm going to use two of these and try to make it look like a butterfly. But I'm going to be sure to secure this so it doesn't blow. Not just during our hurricane season, but in our sometimes intense afternoon thunderstorms, up to 65 miles an hour or more in just afternoon thunderstorms. So be aware of that if you're using any of these. And there, I wish I could find a really large one. I wouldn't use it for a fire pit. It would be a great catch. Like the idea of using the umbrellas, cut the shaft, cut some slits, run ropes or lines, and we actually drilled holes around the side of the barrel. Here you can't see it, but there's actually ropes that tie in. There was a small hole. This was at my house. That was a golf umbrella that was laying next to the dumpster at the Fruit and Spice Park. I used it. This was a beach umbrella. All of these succumb to dry rot from ultraviolet rays in the sun. They all have to be inspected, and they're just not going to last very long. But it filled it up long enough. That's the Gainura Chinese Chinese spinach there, and this is one of our great native plants, Phyllonoda. It's like a larval host for 3 different butterflies. This is the house in Miami Springs, and I was saving auxiliary water. So I thought that using those umbrellas could be a good idea until I saw this from this year, um, a dust devil, and you can see them rising up. They're like tornadoes. They're smaller. They could be, like the funnels that form over water, not as big, but they just picked up all of these beach umbrellas and sent them flying. If you want to have fun, you can watch that video. So no more. And this one's turned inside out. These guys turned inside out. Ouch. So maybe not the safest idea since we are subject to those. This little lines here represents the ability for you to see through what would be a vinyl tarp, where we could make an opening and have it come in and fill one barrel and link the barrels together so that they would all fill. Still showing the old 4 block using 8 blocks per barrel method. We came up with a much better way to elevate the barrel using less concrete blocks. And then just a simple any old lean-to. Can you get up there and clean that surface? So, and inspect it. You can see this. So you could pressure wash that pretty easily. Buy any large container, drill a hole through it, secure it to the barrel. I happened to buy one of these huge stainless steel. It's like 34-inch diameter. Big old salad bowl. I got it at a garage sale. These are horribly expensive. Here we go, the ultimate DIY project, FIU's organic garden, way back in 2009. Dalton and I just had a look at it recently. This is Thelma Velez. She earned her PhD, and what we did is she hung a tarp from higher fence to lower fence and did rain gutters on a small section, slightly angled down, filling one barrel, and then all of the barrels were linked together. And that was used to irrigate with gravity feed their organic garden. So where is Thelma now? She has her PhD and she's at Organic Farming Research Foundation in Puerto Rico. Shout out to her. So this is another idea. This is a little thing this is 5 foot. If that were secured from post and that were somehow secured down to the top of the barrel, and you could easily take this apart and clean it. So I think that gives you some ideas of what I'm trying to do here is feed your curiosity, feed your kind of like, hey, let me think about this. Hey, what if we tried this? That kind of American ingenuity that we came over from wherever. We brought that with us. So let's do it. So let's talk about what you can do. It's great for your garden and your landscape, just not your edible plants. However, just a little caveat, if it were, oh, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to stick with University of Florida, and let's make sure that we're all safe. You can wash your car with it. What I usually do is hit the hose, and I have I forget what you call it. I'll show you a picture of it later. I just went at a loss for words. The spray handle on my garden hose. So when I let go of the lever, it doesn't water. So that I don't have to worry about when I lay the hose down that it's going to keep water running. So I use that to just get the car wet. Then I can wash the car with rainwater if I were to use my precious rainwater on my car instead of my garden. But I usually rinse with tap water. You can certainly use it to keep your compost moist. And you can clean your garden tools, your wheelbarrow. You just don't want to clean anything that is going to come in contact with food products. Regularly check gutters. Like if you had a certain container that you were collecting your vegetables in, I would want to clean that inside with soap and water. Okay, that's what I meant by that. Regularly check, make sure nothing is clogged or obstructed, and occasionally clean occasionally. So what we actually recommend, and let me just stop for a moment because we are going to run overtime on this. This is scheduled for 90 minutes. If you have to go for any reason, please, you can watch the rest of this. It will be on our YouTube website. So clean occasionally. You want to check this more than once a year. And especially if the barrel is a light color, like I have one of the natural, which is actually white. And when sunlight hits that, when it's in the light, you can get algal growth in there. It's not harmful, but it could get thick enough to impede the water flow out of the barrel. In that case, I would probably empty it out as best I can and just rinse it out after I've gotten the water out and I've been able to move it. But certainly here in yellow, at the end of dry season, before we start to get into rainy season and maybe the first heavy rain, we want to go ahead and clean it. And we also want to disconnect the rain barrel if you're collecting from a roof. We want to let the heaviest rains, those first rains, kind of wash the roof off as well. The other thing that is very, very important is we want to check at least every 5 days to ensure that no mosquitoes have gained access to the water and they're not laying eggs and breeding in there. We're not growing mosquitoes, please. We have enough of them. And not only are they annoying and itchy, but we know that they vector diseases. And if you're going to use with a soaker hose, there are some, I just saw there's some no pressure devices that you can use with rain barrels. I'm going to show you that. But you also, if you're using it with a soaker hose, you want to remove the washer, which restricts the water flow. You'll see a photo of that coming up also. So the don'ts, don't drink it. I'm going to tell you that the water comes out of a rain barrel sparkling clear in most cases. All of my barrels have just the cleanest looking water. All of them here at the extension. Clean, clear water is not in any way a guarantee that that water is safe to drink. I guess you can watch any of those Survivor shows and realize that. So do not use it for bathing or washing or cooking. Do not use a garbage container because especially, the larger you get, they look like, oh, that'll be perfect. You're rolling carts for that collection. That the walls, they're just not a thick enough extrusion to be able to support the weight of water. Water weighs 8 gallons per pound, and it can collapse on itself. Getting cut by broken plastic can cut as sharp as glass, and you could get, all sorts of issues, plus the weight of it. Do not attempt to move the rain barrel when it contains any amount of water. I had a knee replacement and everyone teases me that I was wrestling the rain barrels around too much. No, even a half full rain barrel is going to weigh 200 pounds. Do not do it. You're going to hurt yourself and you're going to risk damaging the rain barrel. Unfortunately, if you do need to relocate it, one of the things I've done is emptied it into buckets, into another container, moved it, and then done the reverse to refill it with the collected rainwater. So do not stack more than 2 concrete blocks high. Concrete blocks stacked higher than 2 blocks must be mortared and reinforced with rebar by Miami-Dade County Code. So where to install it? It's always about location, 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 as is our hydrological system and our climate. Again, back to location. So where will you be using or what will you be using your captured rainwater for? Is it flower beds or your potted plants, your orchids? You're planting new landscape, like if you get some trees that are going to be from Tremendous for giveaway at the Underline this month, then you could use your captured rainwater to keep those watered until rainy season starts. So you can select a location where you can capture the most water in relationship. It's always a balance. Where can you get the most water? Where am I going to use it? And if I can't capture it off a roof, or if I want it for my vegetable garden, how can I expand the catch area? Or how can I transport that water? So rain barrels do not have the water pressure that you have when you go outside and turn the faucet on and it comes spraying out of your garden hose. There's not that water pressure. It's not the water pressure of an irrigation system. There are some pumps, and unfortunately, we do not have a list of resources for you, but they do exist. Some pumps and even little solar powered. You might think of pumps for a pond. Soaker hoses can be used. You can connect with a regular hose and then splice it with a soaker hose if it has to travel a distance before it gets to the garden. Watering cans, that might be my favorite. Or other, what ideas? I have seen, let's see at the Campon. They used to use giant bamboo, which they slit in half, and they removed the little sections that, the little growth bumps on the inside. Bamboo isn't hollow all the way through. Um, and they just angled it downward from the rainwater catch area. This is your ingenuity, your do-it-yourself powers. So what we will do ahead of time is we do drill out the barrels and we install, we don't use this one anymore. We actually use the lever, which is easier. If you have difficulties with, it's easier to use. It's handicap approved. I have arthritis. It's much easier for me to use. And it comes with this rubber gasket. We haven't been able to find these in any of the big box stores. We have to order them. So if you found a container that's food grade, and you're having difficulties finding it, we can show you where you can order it online. So we used to open the entire top for everyone, but we don't recommend that any longer because too many people would not inspect it, and that screen that you would cover the top to prevent mosquitoes in would dip below the water line and you could have mosquitoes breeding. So no more of that. We don't do that. So what we can do is just open this little section, and you'd be surprised. There's some barrels that we have that are missing one of these bunghole caps. They will fill up an entire barrel just from that opening. So imagine how much you can fill from this opening. Now, if you're not using it for edibles, you could place that under the overhang of your roof, and this is going to fill up really fast. So we have that reciprocal saw. We actually open the bunghole cap, go in very slowly because this is reinforced, and make that opening. It's a two-person job, so that we can ensure that the blade doesn't slip. We have to actually raise the blade up. Whoever does that, be aware that it's a two-person job. Now, also on the top, and you can't quite see it, there are some little drain holes. We used to recommend that everybody add more of those drain holes. Take your drill with a drill bit and drill at an angle so water that falls on the top will roll down the sides. We would still get some clog in there, so we just recommend that you cover the entire top with window screen. So that way, nothing. And please remember to check it once a week at least. So that's how we'll prevent any problems with mosquitoes or anything else. So we have to share, and we'll be sharing these resources with you. You can get a PDF or, sorry, Dalton, I didn't give you this to put in chat. But these are easily available. We have these from Miami-Dade County, actually, how to prevent. And you can see lots of ways. Check all of these ways that water can stand in your landscapes. One of the worst ones here I see is those tires that get discarded everywhere in Redland and Homestead. They are perfect mosquito environments. It's not just this open rain barrel here, guys. Lots of things. Open garbage cans. All right. So due diligence on all of this. We can help reduce mosquitoes without having to spray. Spraying can result in collateral damage to other beneficial insects. Connecting to a rain gutter system. I don't know if if there is a permit required to install this, but I would highly recommend or caution that this is not a DIY project. And if you do think you can tackle this, this is not a do with one person. You need to have some expertise. You're going to be standing on a ladder and holding tools, power tools. And there's all sorts of leaf screen and different filters. Here would be where you see this is that broken line there. If you wanted to install a rain barrel, you would remove a strap and you could take this down from the wall. It's after you remove the straps, this section of the downspout should just kind of squiggle out, and then after you've measured it first, of course, stand it up on the base and measured it twice. You can cut once so that this can be at the right height for you to get the rainwater in. And we're going to show you, this is another method where, and this has just become available in the last few years. This is a rubber and plastic, and it squeezes into this opening. They're showing it open. You drill just a hole here, and you can squeeze this in. And if it touches two sides or even just one side, this will allow water to run off into the barrel. Water is going to stick to the sides. It's got that really cool sticky property about it too. So this is the old school method before any of these aftermarket products became available. So you can still do this. This will cost you maybe about $5 for a really inexpensive hacksaw, a couple of dollars for the PVC pipe increaser, ditto for the flexible downspout, around $15. Take the bunhole cap, so you make sure that the smaller end of your PVC pipe increaser, it's usually about 2 1/4. It's going to kind of fit inside that bunghole. You don't have to use duct tape. You can use a little set screw just to keep it in place. Remember, you might want to take this apart to clean it. And we use a little piece of window screen here to help filter anything off the roof. There's First Flush Products. Sorry, I should have blanked out that name. We're not permitted to recommend any one product, but these are easy to disconnect. So if I wanted to disconnect this one during the first rain, I would just take this out and move it so it just flows to the ground. And by the way, this is diverting all of the water from that downspout. So we need a way for, once this is full, for the water to be removed away from the house. So connecting barrels. This is a cool little sketch, but you actually want to connect the barrels from top to top. You want, when you're pulling the water from the barrel, do it from the bottom. That should make sense because this water's coming in. If they're all connected from the bottom, then they all slowly have to fill up because they will level and you will have no water pressure at all from the combination of these barrels. However, if you do it from the top, as this one fills, goes to this one, et cetera, and you should be able to pull the water from each of them individually or collectively. So here you go. This is a side view. I'm a little bit nervous about laying these down on their side. You have to make sure that these bunghole openings are not going to leak when they are linked. And I've also seen lots of illustrations where they do the upside down barrel. I did one at home, but I sealed the bunghole caps with some aquarium sealant. Um, so this is a product you can use. You can buy online, and I'm going to show you how to find these things. It's all in the words you use when you're doing your search. There's some magic words. So there you go at the top. And then this is overflow. You want to make sure whatever you devise for overflow, it's going to go away from the house. So this is a blue rain barrel, I think. And this is them with a little U-tube, and they use the upside down barrel all the time. Seems to work for them. And they connected a drip irrigation system. Now, when you watch this, you'll notice some weeds in the garden, and you might notice some plants that don't actually need to be watered, but it's a gravity fed. The gravity buildup from drawing on this collection of connected barrels is enough to push the water through this drip irrigation system. So what do we do with that overflow? Well, we can connect barrels. Of course, we could always save more, but make sure you actually need more. But one of my favorite things, and this is probably not a rain garden, but it's more like a little rocky creek with some aquatic plants. But this would be the perfect way to use any overflow. And as a matter of fact, keeping my rain garden moist during the dry season is one of the things I use my rain barrel for. However, please note that my rain garden is full of native plants, and they are used to being dry in the dry season. I can water my rain lilies all I want. They still won't bloom until the rainy season. So there you go. I've been experimenting with letting it grow a bit drier. When I say grow, it's not going to grow very much, but just letting go of constantly making sure, hovering it over like a helicopter plant parent. Things in the landscape, they're kind of those creatures out there are kind of evolved to survive. However, we've kind of altered the situation, so they might need our help a little bit. So overflow, what's wrong with this photo? This is a nice little rocky creek. And yeah, there's a nice green lawn, and there's landscaping over here. There's no rain barrel. Could have been a rain barrel there. And you could paint it the same color of the house and it'll disappear. But where does this little rocky creek end? Right smack dab on the driveway, and it goes out to the street, and it's going to find the closest storm drain. You could see that it's raining. So great, but not quite. So don't make that mistake. I love it. I love the way it looks. It could have had some little fingers that would go out and feed that grass. Elevating your rain barrel. This is actually in some publications on UF-IFAS. We don't use the 8 rain barrel. And this was the old days. We stepped down and found these things in the plumbing department at the big box store to come up with ways of how we could do this. But we don't need that many concrete blocks. So here's all we need. Of course, purple butterfly optional. We just need the 4 concrete blocks and a 20 by 20 patio stone. And this again is going to be around $15. So you need to connect about $15. You need to elevate about $15. That's about $30 additional. Do you need soaker hoses? Do you need a watering can? So think about those things before you jump into, hey, I want a rain barrel. And besides that, what are you going to use the water for? So make sure that this is going to work for you. Or it's going to work for wherever you might want to donate it to a school garden or some other place. So just check out how you're going to use it. So here you go. Here's that washer on a soaker hose. It just has a little pin dot. That's to use with a hose that's got pressure, the same pressure that you have inside your home. So you would take that out because you're only going to have the pressure of gravity on that rain barrel. I wish I could find a little graph somewhere that would, what is that pressure from a 55-gallon barrel when it's full? How much pressure is there actually? But this is window screen. We used to try to buy this in larger rolls so we could donate it, but we can't continue to do that. Buy the smallest roll you need. Make sure you cover the entire top. There is no substitute for window screen, so that's permeable, that will prevent mosquitoes from flying in. Mosquito dunks, you can buy the dunks and crush them, or you can buy the granulated ones. You could order the pieces online if you don't see them on the shelf. Is rainwater harvesting prohibited? No. It is actually funded by Miami-Dade County Water and Sewer Department. However, please check with your local municipality or your homeowner and your homeowners association. And if you are renting or leasing a property, you need to check there also, not only whether you are allowed to install a rain barrel, but please be sure to go over with them what you need to do to install it. Do you need access to the downspouts? This is going to be up to the landowner, and you must check that before you proceed. So, how to find those different components? Search rain barrel components. Those are the three magic words, and you will come up with so many things. And this DIY rain barrel, that has everything you need in it. Sometimes you can find, so here you can see whenever I did this, it was $39.99 at Home Depot. You can look for it less money. And this slide is about a year old, so prices change. And you could shop and you might be able to find it, just the pieces that you need instead of the whole kit. You don't need the winterizing component there. So this is another solution. This is a no pressure irrigation timer. So usually these little timers that you connect to your outdoor faucets, they need water pressure. This is a no pressure. This is a no pressure drip. You can see that there's just a hole there. There's not an emitter, and it's a less flexible and just kind of a bigger hole, but they also have this bubbler irrigation. And I don't know what it comes with. Oh, it says there, what it comes with. And also, just the soaker hoses. I think just about any soaker hose would do. Just take the soaker hoses are gonna the water is gonna ooze out all along the hose, and take out the restrictive washer. So going large scale, this is what I've been hoping for the almost 20 years that I've been here, is how we can use larger scale rainwater collection systems in highly developed urban areas to prevent stormwater runoff. And this has actually been out there. It's just something that requires probably new building codes, and some education, and just the will to let's do this, to maybe realize that this can really help, because we have areas that just really become flooded during heavy rainfall periods. And you can see this has actually been adopted all across the planet. This is EPA's website. They have plenty of examples. District of Columbia, San Mateo, different university campsites or campus sites. And this was I think probably the heyday of rainwater collection, 2016, and it fell off a little bit. I think quite a few green initiatives might have fallen off during that time period. But this was an article from the International Rainwater Catchment Systems Experiences. This was Dr. Skywater. I went back. He proposed that new high-rise buildings in Tokyo be designed and built with rainwater collection systems. It's very difficult to do any sort of rainwater collection system once something is already constructed. We've had some people contact us about that, and we've encouraged them to reach out to the architects, to ARCSA, which is American Rainwater Catch Systems Associations as well. They do educational programs. They have architects that are members. Landscape architects could be very well informed in this. We know that the old Kampong structure that used to include the swimming pool had columns that actually served as rainwater catch systems. That's from days of old when that was built as a residence for Dr. Fairchild. So these are not new things. These are things that we need to remember and go back and adapt and use. They can help. So I wasn't able to find any new information on Dr. Skywater. I may have said Skywalker, but Skywater. I just love this. Makoto Maruse. Forget it. I don't speak Japanese. So this is an EPA center. This is a couple of large scale, and even this was funded by ARCSA, and it's in some of the Home Depots. And this website sort of kind of fell in a little disrepair, but it's come back. It's now fairly robust in their trainings and their conferences. So we're running to the end here. This is one of my most favorite, so I kind of saved it for last. This is an edible garden, and I saw this on a segment on National Public Television, a Friday night, hanging at home with the kids. What do you think those blue tulip-like looking structures are doing? Capturing rainwater, and they are filling up an underground cistern. So this is the Curtis 50 Cent Jackson Community Garden in Queens, New York, otherwise known as Jamaica, New York. And New York Restoration Project is the pinnacle of creating these community gardens all throughout New York and those boroughs. So if you think of our municipalities, think of all of these little boroughs in New York as different municipalities. And they have just stepped up, started by Bette Midler, and a lot of corporate funding throughout New York. And it's just amazing what they have done. I really highly encourage anyone who's thinking about community gardens and green spaces in our urban landscape, in our urban community, please take a look through this website. This is 50 Cent, and that's Bette Midler. I'm not sure who they are, but this guy right here in the hat is Walter Hood, great American hero, TED Talks. Check out his website. He truly creates a sense of place with his parks and his structures within parks. It all starts with that sketch pad. This is called trash paper. It's a thin paper. I have rolls of it at home from when my kids used to draw and do things. Put that paper in people's hands and encourage them to start thinking about how we solve some of these issues. Let's see what we come up with. So we're at the end. What will you do with your rain barrel? Not sure, but you can always, in case it floods, build a little paddle boat. Oh, that's got an engine on it. And just as a word, please remember to watch the heat. And remember, we have a community action day this Saturday. If you would like to purchase a rain barrel, the registration is open for that on the Eventbrite, but you have to come and pick it up on Saturday and maybe pull some weeds with us and get a free plant too. So that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Did we have any questions for anyone who managed to stay for 90 minutes?
We
Oops,
only
I
lost
put Dawn.
two, so that's not too bad. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat for Barbara, or you can quickly unmute yourself if you wish by hovering over the bottom left corner, I believe, of your screen. You should be able to click the audio button there and unmute yourself. Or you can also send Barbara an email.
Yeah, send me an email, but I'm happy to answer questions. But email is a great way to reach out to any of us because it gets time for us to review what your question is and prepare the answer. How's that? So thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to tune in to this channel monthly and also check out our workshops taking place throughout Miami-Dade County